Page 146 says Seif Yud Aleph. We're talking about wrapping ourselves in the talit, wrapping our head in the talit, putting the talit over our heads, not on our heads. Do you have to put it over your shoulders, just over your body, over your head and your body? We mentioned those people who have a tiny little scarf talit that they don't get the mitzvah. They wear the scarf around their neck. Also, somebody who in general takes their talit and just wears it around their neck, it's important to let them know that in order to fulfill the mitzvah properly, they should wear it the normal way that a talit is worn. Let's see here, Yudav. Nachon, it's proper. Sheichaseh rosho, he should cover his head. Betalit, in a talit. Mipnei, because shekisui zeh, because this covering machni'a lev ha'adam, it's the best word for that would be it submits a person's heart to Hashem. It machni'a is kind of to the verb of to make subservient. Is there a word for that? Yeah, so something to that effect. It makes a person's heart like, oh, I'm a servant of Hashem. Umevion, and brings him lidei yirat shamayim, and it brings him to yirat shamayim. There's some kind of rumor on the street that you have to have a double covering according to Kabbalah. I have not seen that in Kabbalistic sources, but the idea here is it gives you a certain level of awe when your head is covered. V'yesh omrim, and some say shetzarich lechasot rosho, that a person must cover his head, bitalit, in his talit, kol zeman tefillah, the entire time that he is in tefillah. Ulefi dat raboteinu hamekubalim, and according to our rabbis, the mekubalim, tzarich lechasot rosho batalit, a person must have their head covered in talit, kol zman shatfilin alav, as long as the tefillin are on his head. View tefillin shel rosh mechusot betalit, and the head tefillin should always be covered with the talit. So you have to understand that there's two steps here, but let me just read one more sentence and I'll explain. 146. Uv'shabbat v'yom tov, and on Shabbat and holidays, mechaseh rosho betalit, he covers his head with the talit, ad achar tfilat ha'amida, until after the Shemona Esrei.
Is that it's not a custom, it's a...
The covering of the head?
Yeah.
Right now we're going to talk about it. It's a good question. Welcome back. It's a good question. Right now we're going to talk about the Mekubalim and the Poskim. So we have a few steps here. A person should keep their head covered with talit because it makes their heart submit to Hashem. On top of that, some people say you have to have your talit covered the entire tefillah. The Mekubalim say your head is to be covered with the talit so long as there's tefillin on you. So there's no part of tefillah you cover your head, but from the moment you put on your tefillin, your head stays covered until you take off your tefillin. And then he mentioned something which people don't quite understand, and I see this in the Mekubalim are of the opinion that the head tefillin should be covered completely by the talit on their head.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It should cover the entire box.
Right, so...
Like when you cover your head
talit,
with, for the Kohanim.
Right, yeah, please. Just one of these. They're right in the entrance. Perfect, thank you. When a person's wearing tefillin, they can do what most people do. Thank you. And they could wear a talit like this. Right, this is the way the head is covered. And your tefillin would sit somewhat prominently right here. According to the Mekubalim, imagine a tefillin right.
Slow catch.
And then if you are Mekubal, what you would do is you would cover the like this. You'd cover the tefillin. I've actually seen some Mekubalim. It's very funny. They walk around like this. It looks like glasses they're wearing on the. But that's how they keep their tefillin covered. I haven't actually seen, aside from real Mekubalim, I haven't seen them covered like that. Chamor Chaliyahu, if I'm not mistaken, the way he would make it work was he had one of those turbans that he would wear.
Yeah.
So he would put the turban on top of the tefillin. This has to do with the whole idea in Kabbalah of tefillin, of the head being covered. Tefillin of the head being covered, it's an interesting thing. According to Kabbalah, all kinds of things have to be covered. When you put on your tefillin, the hand tefillin, they don't let you put on your hand tefillin when someone else can see the tefillin itself. And rather the Mekubalim say that you have to put on your hand tefillin while you're hidden entirely. Your whole body is hidden underneath the talit. So if you ever seen anybody do that, I don't know if in your shul people do that, but in Yerushalayim you would see, you've seen people in the Persian community be particular about this. They cover their, it's like in Birkat Kohanim, they're covered entirely with the talit, and they put on their tefillin underneath. I used to try to do such a thing, but it's too difficult to get your talit stuck between your tefillin and all.
Yeah.
Too much work.
To put them on like outside the synagogue, right?
Yeah, that's like an idea according to already Shulchan Aruch. Is coming to Beit Knesset wearing tefillin.
Ready to go.
Yeah. 147. Umikol makom, but in any case, linyan halacha lemaaseh. What about actual halacha? So we're not Kabbalists. What does halacha demand from me? How often do I have to cover my head? Nira she'en chiyuv min hadin lechasot rosho b'talit. It seems there's not a chiyuv min hadin, not a obligation from the actual halacha lechasot rosho b'talit, to cover his head with talit kol zman tefillah, the entire tefillah. V'achar shitatef ba'katifat ha'ishmaeli, once a person actually wraps himself in his talit, v'chisa rosho b'shat ha'bracha, and he covered his head after the bracha, Rashai mikar hadin is permitted from the basic standpoint of halakha, lahorida al ktefav, to put it down on your shoulders. And that was actually the custom in most places, that people did not cover their head with their talit. At least in Sephardic countries, I can tell you for sure. Unless they were Torah scholars. To the point where Rabbi Shalom Masas, I believe, or Rabbi Yosef Masas, one of them says that when he would see somebody in the synagogue cover their head, he would rip their talit off their body. And he would say, "You're not one of the chief rabbis. You're not a dayan. Who are you?" It was considered like showing off to cover one's head. Today, it's not. Today, everybody covers their head. The whole world is doing it, so there's not a problem with it. But a person doesn't have to do it. And therefore, if a person is worried that the head covering, but talit, with the talit, yigrom lo, will cause him lehafra'a, a disturbance bechavanat tefillah, in his proper concentration in tefillah. כגון מחמד שהטלית נופלת מעל ראשו מפעם בפעם. Maybe the talit keeps slipping off your head. Give me another thing that might disturb you about the talit in your head. By me, I find that it gets hot sometimes. It gets very like if it's too warm out or stuffy in the room, I get very, and then I'm not concentrating on tefillah. I'm trying to get to the end, and it's not worth having my head covered and lose out on tefillah. Resha is permitted shelo lechasot rosho b'talit. The person is permitted to not cover their head with a talit.
Does a Ramah agree?
So this is not even a Shulchan Aruch.
Oh, I see.
Shulchan Aruch is not even telling me to cover my head.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, here brings us to an interesting halakha. At what age do you start covering your head with your talit? Now, in Ashkenazi community, this is a big question. Because, let's say a boy gets an aliyah to the Torah, and he doesn't wear a talit. In most Ashkenazi communities, the boy doesn't wear a talit until he's married. Now, it's actually interesting that in German Jewish communities, which is the real Ashkenazi community, boys do wear a talit once they are bar mitzvah, but they don't cover their head with a talit until they're married.
No.
So even while they're wearing a talit, they always wear, let's say, a black hat or a kippah or something. They never cover their head with a talit. And I don't know why it happened or how it happened, but in the Reform communities, they wear a talit for when they have bar mitzvah. So I don't know if that's a reflection of the German Jewish custom that triggered that movement, or it's just because if you don't do it now, when else are you ever going to have it back in the community to have a talit? But that's a
If not now, when?
right. When's it? The question: what does marriage have to do with covering your head with the talit? So let's read this next halakha, and then we'll go into the sources for why both customs exist. Bechol hanal, in all of the above of covering one's head, en l'chalek, one should not differentiate ben mishu nasui, 147, whether one is married, leven misha eno nasui, or one is not married. Va'af misha eno nasui, and even one who's not married, nachon shichaser rosho betalit b'shat tefillah. It's proper that he should cover his head with the talit during tefillah, l'mitzvah min amuvchar, for an extra mitzvah. Okay, this is interesting. Let's go look at this verse in the bottom. You see the gimel on the left side of the page? Let's tackle this idea. Covering the head, not covering the head. Why do we even cover the head? Hina Magen Avraham. The Magen Avraham was the foremost codifier of halakha on the Shulchan Aruch for Bnei Ashkenaz after the Ramah. In the book of Orach Chaim, he's all over the place, Magen Avraham. And very often Ashkenazi custom comes from the Magen Avraham. Mashma b'kiddushin. It's apparent from the Talmud in Kiddushin. Shebachur, that a bachur is always referred. It literally means a man, but a young man, one who's not married, a single man. Shalon asayisha, I mean, who's not married. Lo hayam mechaser rosho b'talit. Did not cover his head with a talit. Afilu hu talmid chacham. Even if he was a Torah scholar. Uvedaf Chet, and on the 8th page of Talmud Kiddushin, Ita it says, Demi sheino talmid chacham, the one who is not a Torah scholar, afilu nasui, even if he's married, lo haya mechaser rosho, he does not cover his head. So even someone who's married, who's not a Torah scholar, doesn't cover his head according to the Magen Avraham. So two people don't cover their head. A Torah scholar who is doesn't cover their head. A Torah scholar who's single, and a married person who is not a Torah scholar.
Well, a Torah scholar who's single is Ashkenazi doesn't wear a talit, does he? Unless he's
German, I guess we're talking about, or if he's getting an aliyah to the Torah, we would be referring to, or he's a chazan or something where he would have to wear a talit. It's a good point. V'hevi'o lahalakha ha-mishnah bura, and the Chavetz Chaim in his Mishnah Bura brings this opinion for halakha. And says Rabbi David Yosef, and it's true that in the words of the Bet Yosef, in the original, before the Shulchan Aruch, Perusho Harishon, in the first explanation of Maran, of this piece of Talmud, Midbaer, it's apparent, Shemi Sheino Nasui, someone who's not married, Eino Mechaser Rosho B'Talit. He does not cover his head with a talit. Aval lefi Perusho Hashani, but according to the second explanation that Maran gives there in the Bet Yosef, Af Mi Sheino Nasui Mechaser Rosho B'Talit. Even he who is not married covers his head with a talit. Ayin Sham, go look there. But here's the big problem. The problem is the Magen Avraham is going off of a very shaky source, which talks about a young man who's not married not covering his head with what's called a sudar. You know what a sudar is?
Sudar?
A sudar.
Dar.
Yeah, like a sidur, but a sudar. So it's not like a sidur, no.
Is that one of those hats that the Arabs used to wear?
It's one of those like head scarves.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if there's actually an English word for it, but
Do-rag?
no, it would be like a scarf. It's called ituf. You wrap your head inside of it.
Turban.
Kid joke.
Right, turban would sit on the head, whereas this would. You see, like the Baba Sali wore one of these. It didn't just.
Oh, it's a cowl.
A cowl, it's called? Okay, it's not just a hood, it's kind of a wrap that goes around the head. Vagaon Yabetz, Rabbi Yaakov Emdin, was a leading Ashkenazi authority. B'Mor Uktzia, in his book Mor Uktzia, he argues with the Magen Avraham. He says the Bagmara that in the Talmud, lo ma'ir inyan talit ka. The Talmud does not even talk about a talit. You're quoting me a source that he didn't cover his head in a scarf. You're assuming that scarf is a talit. He said, but it doesn't say that in the Talmud. And he's making a point that elsewhere in the Talmud, when you say sudal, you're not referring to a talit. You find Arabs that are wrapped in a sudal, so that means they also wear a talit. No. Ela linan sudar. It's only referring to this headcloth. V'lachen katav, he writes in the Morutzia, shishgaga hi biyad ha-Magen Avraham, that it was a mistaken understanding of the Magen Avraham. V'haikar, and the truth is, she'en lechalek bazeh ben nasui, leven mi she'eno nasui. That we don't differentiate between someone who's married and someone who's not married, uven tamid chacham, and mi she'eno tamid chacham. Or someone who's a Torah scholar, someone who's not a Torah scholar. Everyone can cover their head with a talit. V'chein nira midivrei Bach, the Beit Chadash, Rabbi Yoel Sirkis, he's also one of the Ashkenazi commentaries on the Tur. He also agrees. Uvesever Yafed Alev. Yafed Alev, if I'm not mistaken, is Rabbi Palaji. Not Ashkenazi Sephardic. He'ir midivrei HaRambam. He brings something from the Rambam. The Rambam says, Shegnai Gadolhu, that it's a big disgrace, L'Talmidei Chachamim, for Torah scholars, Sheitpalalu, that they should pray, V'hem einam atufim, and that they are not wrapped up in a talit. It's for this reason that some Torah scholars, not today's generation so much, wore a talit for Mincha and Arvit also. Because of this Rambam. And this could be the source for Ashkenazim and Yemenites having the Chazan is always wrapped in a talit, even at night, even by Mincha. Whereas we don't do that. It could be that this custom originates from this idea that who's the Chazan? It's not some ignoramus. He's probably the rabbi or a Torah scholar in the community, somebody who knows tefillah. So he would have to have himself wrapped up in a talit if he wanted to pray. That's probably where this is.
For Mari too?
What do they do by you?
They don't use Mari.
They don't wear a talit?
Use a talit for Mari. Only for Mincha.
I don't want to ask Doron. Dan, when are you going to talk to Doron next time? Tomorrow?
Yeah.
Can you ask, if you remember, if by Mariv they wear a talit in yeshiva? I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, v'chen katav kolbo. The kolbo also writes this. U'mediver Rabbeinu Hari, and according to the words of the Mekubalim, the Arizal, b'shar kavanot nira, it appears she'en lechalek b'zeh ben nasui le'eno nasui, whether a person is married or not, it doesn't make a difference. V'chen katvu kama acharonim. And this is what a number of acharonim said, that you could cover your head even if you are not married and even if you are not a Torah scholar. Which doesn't apply here in this kollel, so you should know that probably you should. If you don't, at least for Shema and Shema Yisrael, you should have your head covered. Somebody who doesn't learn Torah, someone who's not a learned person, it could be that they don't have to, but you are not. You, fortunately or unfortunately, took yourself out of the category of ignoramuses. So you also should be covering your head.
It's a big space between ignoramus and Torah scholar.
Well, we're using the word Torah scholar, whereas the word is Talmid Chacham, which is a student of Chachamim, of the. You are a student of Shulchan Aruch, of Halachot.
Yes, it's not reflexive. Talmud, I always thought that too until the other day. Talmud Chacham is not about.
Not about how learned you are, it's about the motivation.
Yeah,
The motivation is that also where you're learning, who you're learning.
Yeah.
And you're learning from Chachamim, you're learning Shulchan Aruch. I mean, some people, they go their whole life, they've never opened up a Shulchan Aruch before. So they might not fall into the category of Talmidei Chachamim. But you learn Shulchan Aruch, you learn Gemara, you learn Chumash, you're learning more than most people do. And so you are a student of scholars. That's the idea behind it. It's kind of like you would expect like a fourth year medical student or a law student to already carry themselves with a certain, they might not be doctors or lawyers yet, but there's a certain dress or attitude or dignity they should already be walking around with.
But, I mean, they're on their way to getting a doctorate, a doctorate degree. We're not on our way to getting smicha.
Maybe he's going to say, speak for yourself. Well, not getting smicha. Smicha doesn't make you. I know people who have smicha that are not Torah scholars.
That's true.
You are on your way to learning more, no, to being a Talmid Chacham. That's the hope.
Yeah.
That's what I would hope. You could be humble about other things, not about this. The world needs more Talmidei Chachamim. V'yesh me'Ashkenazim. There are some of the Ashkenazim shenahagu that they have a custom. She'en habachurim harvakim, the single men, kodem nisuyim, before they're married, lovshim talit gadol klal. They don't at all wear a talit.
It's more than custom.
It's almost a rule on the street.
Yeah.
So I guess what he's being honest with is that the Ashkenazim, who are the Germans, they're the real Ashkenazim, they don't have this custom.
Right. They're Mishal.
V'yotzim yidei chovat mitzvah tzitzit, and they fulfill their obligation of tzitzit b'talit katan, with a small talit shelofshim tachat abgadim, that they wear under the tzitzit. We know the source for this. We'll learn it together right now. The Chavetz Chaim doesn't like the source. I think I once showed this to Doron back in the day. Chavetz Chaim doesn't like the source, and he says he doesn't understand how you could go for so many years and not ever get the mitzvah of tzitzit. And to which he says, the small tzitzit that we wear, you don't actually fulfill the biblical mitzvah properly of wearing a talit with a small tzitzit. It has to be a certain size, a certain dimensions. A person has to have the proper tzitzit. Very often they're not wool, all kinds of things. But a person should know. V'rak, and only in the Ashkenazi communities, when do they wear talitot? Kshem shlichei tzibur, when they're the shliach tzibur, they're the chazan. O kshem olim la-Torah, or when they go to the Torah. Mitatfim b'talit gadol. They wear a big talit. I was once in a Beit Knesset in New York. The Baal Korah was a Hasidic community. The Baal Korah was in his 50s. He was never married. It was the Baal Korah, like an expert Baal Korah, and he didn't wear a talit because I'm still a single guy. And for me, it was like it was like a sad thing for me that a person wouldn't wear a talit for so many years, just because of this minhag, which we're going to read about the reasoning for it.
Well, it also has social status issues, implications in the show.
Sure.
You know, I mean, really, you see people who are like 16, 70 who are not wearing a talit, and, you know, people say, oh, you know, they're not
It
wearing
means something about them.
Yeah.
It was actually a good thing back in the day when I used to wear talit to these. I used to go visit people in New York, like mono-Orthodox communities, and over there, if you wear a talit, you must be married. So I got myself away from all the shidduch offers and things like that. But everyone assumes wearing a talit, you must be married. So, Baruch Hashem, sometimes it helps.
Yeah, if you're 3 years old and you wear a talit, that's wonder about it.
Right. Ulam, but minhag kol edot Sfardim, all of the Sfardim, v'kama me'edot Ashkenazim, and some of the groups of Ashkenazim have a custom. Sha'af ha'bachurim harvakim kodem nisuyim, that once a person becomes a bachur, that's bar mitzvah, before they're married, v'af ha'ktanim shegiu ligil chinuch, and even the young children that have reached the age of chinuch, of education, mitatfim betalit gadol b'shat tefillah. They wear a talit, a big talit, in the times of tefillah. I wish that people would be stricter about this. What is the age of chinuch?
3.
So 3 Yemenites, sometime around 3, they start wearing talitos. Maybe 5. The real is like 6 or 7, or 8, 9, 10. There are 2 groups of rabbis, and those are the ages they give. Here you're talking about a biblical mitzvah, so the best would be to be strict about this, not to be lenient about this. Obviously, you know your kid is going to get his brand new talit from Israel dirty in the sidewalk because he's playing soccer, so then a few things should be addressed, soccer on Shabbat and all kinds of things, but you have to know who your child is. The gil of chinuch means the age where he's able to appreciate that I'm wearing a talit. Very often I find when a kid has a talit, he wants to be in the Beit Knesset more than the kid who doesn't have a talit, even if it's just for half an hour. But he wants to wear his talit for half an hour in the Beit Knesset. It's a very important thing. There's no reason to wait until Bar Mitzvah. Just like you educate him to wear a kippah, to make brachot on food, he should already be wearing a talit. It's already the time. Like we told Ashkenazim who wait until marriage, so the age of getting ready is not before Bar Mitzvah. It would be after Bar Mitzvah, sometime before getting married. But we're going to see right now at the bottom of the page the reasoning behind all of these minhagim. Some of this I have not learned, so forgive me as we learn it together. See the dalet at the bottom of the page? You're going to be blown away as to the source of this very strong custom, why Ashkenazim don't cover their head. Hine besever Teshbatz, the Talmid Maharam. There's a book called the Teshbatz. He's a student of the Maharam. Katav, he writes, Kevan dichtiv, because it says in the Torah, Gdilim ta'aseh lecha, that you should make on your clothing Gdilim, tzitziot. V'samichlei, and the next parsha next to it is, Ki kach ish isha, when a man marries a woman. Mikan, from here they learn samchu bezeh, b'malchut shel Ashkenaz, in the kingdom of Ashkenaz they had an idea, shelo litatef b'tzitzit, ad lachar nisuim, that you don't wear tzitzit until after you're married, because those two psukim fall out together. You have the mitzvah of tzitzit, and right afterwards it says, when a man gets married to a woman, so you see from there that tzitzit and marriage are connected. Strong source. Especially since it doesn't say that anywhere. But what do you see? I could tell you, I learned from there that you have the mitzvah of tzitzit before the mitzvah of getting married. Maybe that. It's not a very strong source, but that is the source for this custom. Adkan, some actually want to suggest on a practical level. When did most Jewish communities get married? What age were the boys getting married?
I know the Yemen was like around 12, 13 to protect them.
Right, very good. In Ashkenaz it was around 14. So most stories in Ashkenaz were boys getting married at 14 years old. Bar mitzvah and then marriage.
What year was this?
150 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, sure. 200 years ago. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov writes, I had my bar mitzvah and I got married.
Some of them haven't reached puberty yet.
Sure, it was a very, very young age. And so the idea was, what is the big deal if you wait one more year? You wait another year. From bar mitzvah, the custom, especially in Ashkenaz, is who buys the talit at the marriage, at the wedding?
I don't know.
The bride's parents.
Right.
That's the custom in Ashkenaz. So let's wait a year. Anyways, the kala is going to buy you a talit. Why invest now? This was a custom that made sense. But today, where people are still having their bar mitzvah at 13, and they're getting married in a much later age, so it's a long time to wait. And it could be that even those chachamim who were okay with this custom would not be okay with the custom today, knowing when we get married in this society. But there are more reasons. Some of the Chawonim brought this custom, and they wanted to explain this perhaps according to Kabbalah. Mishum sha'talit gadol, because the talit hu b'vchinat or hamekif, it is the surrounding light around the person. This is a Kabbalistic term, the surrounding light. The Suga has the same term. Habba misimcha shel mitzvah, the surrounding light that comes from the force of being happy by doing a mitzvah. But it says in the Talmud, v'asharui belo isha, that a man who has no wife, sharui belo simcha, he has no happiness. I know some married men would beg to differ. But the idea is that a person before he's married is not a truly happy person because he doesn't have a wife.
Or a wife.
Or a life.
Yeah. Get a wife. I mean a wife.
They said there was once a boy in yeshiva and he was learning with his rabbi, and his rabbi says that it says that the Mashiach will come when the last coin in a person's pocket will disappear. When a person loses all their money. So the boy raises the hand and says, Rabbi, but you taught us the other week, it says in the Talmud that in the merit of righteous woman, the redemption will come. So my son, when you get married, you'll realize that it's in the merit of righteous woman that you lose all the money in your pocket.
Oh, that's made to order. Yeah, that was set up.
So, he says here, so they have this idea that in order to be truly happy and connect to this Kabbalistic energy of light that surrounds you, you would have to be married. Again, right after marriage, you're talking about a biblical mitzvah here. And you're giving excuses to not fulfill a biblical mitzvah with ideas that are nice, but they're not powerful. And I want to explain to you why I'm telling you this. The Mishnah tells us at what age a father has to educate his child to do each mitzvah. When do you buy him a love and it's all? When do you buy him? Okay, very good. That's in Kiddushin. When do you buy him? When do you teach him how to get a job? When do you teach him how to swim? All kinds of things. But in the Masechet Sukkah, it talks about the mitzvot. Lulav and Etol, you buy him at this age. Talit, you buy him at this age. Tefillin, you buy him at this age. And the age for Talit, if I'm not mistaken, the Mishnah says, is as soon as he's able to say the words, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad.
Wow.
So what is that, first grade in a Jewish school? The kid should already be wearing a Talit. That's what it says in the Mishnah.
You mean the full talit?
Yeah.
Not the talit?
Remember, the Talit Katan is an invention of exile that we were under Roman persecution. So we invented this idea of wearing Talit underneath our clothes. So the Mishnah could not have been referring to a Talit Katan.
So we should probably have little talits here for
The small ones.
for the kids.
But this is a big, and so you look up the Shulchan Aruch. Shulchan Aruch says the same thing.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, the Ramah there says, but our custom is not to do it, and you should not change the custom. But why? Why not? The Mishnah says, the Torah says it's a mitzvah, and these are the reasons that are being given. Let's look at these reasons. Ulam b'shirei Knesset HaGdolah, in the book Shirei Knesset HaGdolah, Katav al minhag zeh, he writes about this custom to not wear a talit while you're single. Shehu minhag tamua, it's a questionable custom. Sh'ad shelo yisa isha, that until he doesn't get married, yeh batel me mitzvah tzitzit, he should nullify the commandment of wearing tzitzit. And so how does he answer the Shirei Knesset HaGdolah? He says, if Shaar, it could be that what they meant, Sh'ad hanisuim, that until marriage, hayu mitatfim, they would wrap themselves bit talit shel bet hakneset, with the talit of the synagogue. Velo yukonim talit galatzmam, they did not buy themselves a talit. But of course they wore a talit. How could it be that you would tell me that an entire population of Jews would not wear tzitzit until they got married? V'gam efshar, or it could be like Jack was saying, shesamchu al talit katan, that they relied on the small talit that they were wearing under their clothes. Vuva be'beretev, it's brought down in the beretev. V'ken ha-mishnah bura tamal minhag zeh. The Chavetz Chaim says, I'm not clear as to why we have this custom. I remember Daron once showed this to a rabbi, and the rabbi said, we don't always follow the Chavetz Chaim when it's convenient.
Yeah, at first he screwed his face up very, very painfully. Sometimes we don't possibly.
Like the Chavetz Chaim. But it's Ashkenazim are in love with Chavetz Chaim, just like we are. But the Chavetz Chaim has a good point here. It's not a small point. And the Chavetz Chaim is not a small rabbi to just brush on the side like he was a fanatic. V'chen pasak agon ya'abetz. Rabbi Yaakov, and then the same one from the page before, who told us that it doesn't make a difference if you're married or not regarding the talit, covering the head. She'en lechalek ben bazeh ben nasui l'she'eno nasui v'sheken minhag. This is not only is there no difference between someone who's married and someone who's not. Rabbi Yaakov Inman says the custom in Europe is to not make a differentiation between someone who's married and someone who's not. So I don't know actually where Rabbi Yaakov Inman lived in Europe. I'm almost positive it was not Germany though. And so he is telling you that there's somewhere else in Europe where the custom was to wear talitot by single boys. Uveshut levushay Mordechai Tanina. There's a book called Levushay Mordechai. I thought he was a student of the Rambam, but I could be mistaken. Tama gam ken al minhag zeh. He's also wondering about this custom. These are all Ashkenazi rabbis. V'sha'af ha'magen Avraham lo katav, ela shebachur lo yichaser rosho b'talit. He said that which the Magen Avraham said a single boy doesn't cover his head with a talit, doesn't mean he doesn't wear a talit, just that he doesn't cover his head with it. But of course he would wear it. I'm skipping the parentheses. V'sheheidu talmidei hagaon. The students of the genius Baal Imre Esh, the Imre Esh, they say, shebebeit midrasho, that in his bemidrash, hayu afa bachurim mitatfim b'talit aroshem. Even the single boys wore a talit on their heads. This is an Ashkenaz. V'osif od ha-levushay Mordechai. Oh, look, Baruch HaShem, I'm so happy that the Levushay Mordechai adds, sherak bedorot rishonim, that only in the previous generations, shayu mesiim et b'nehem, that they would marry off their sons, begil teleisar ve'arbeisar. That's Aramaic for 13 and 14. Hayu nohagim min hagzeh. They had this custom to wait until they got married to have a talit. Mashe'en ken bezman hazeh, that not like today, she'en nosim ad gil 20 umala, that they don't get married until they're 20 or even older than that. Yeah, really, really old. וכן כתבו עוד האחרונים לתמוע מנהג זה, and many other אחרונים had questions about this minhag of not wearing a talit. There's another aspect to this whole story which we didn't talk about yet. But this is a classic case where someone who's Ashkenazi would want to wear a talit. And but it's not the custom. He's allowed to say it might not be the custom in many places in Ashkenaz, but there were places in Ashkenaz where this was the custom. It's not like he's adopting a Sephardic custom. This is a custom you'll find here, that in many Ashkenazi places there were rabbis who felt that a person should wear a talit.
So is that reason enough to wear one if you want?
If a person wants to, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. And
Why?
reason enough to at least back down from a person who would like to do this. He has the right to do so. It's not like he's inventing some new custom that didn't exist.
So you're saying by implication that Ashkenazic places that look down on people,
A single person wearing a talit.
yeah, or we maybe even forbid them.
It's a mistake. I mean, at the very least, they can say it's not our custom to wear it, but they would realize that you might actually be doing. See, I could say my custom is not to do something, but I wish that was my custom to do that. What can I do? I'm very into my traditions, and that's okay to say. But a Torah scholar worth his salt will not tell a person you're not allowed to wear a talit. It doesn't say that anywhere. Even the Ashkenazim who didn't wear a talit didn't forbid it. They just said this is the reason why we don't do it. There's a famous story about someone who came to the first Lubavitcher Rebbe. I read this in a book recently, one of my wife's library. Such Hasidic stories don't float around my library so much. But someone came to the first Lubavitcher Rebbe and told him, how could we have this custom? He banged his fist on the table. The Ramah says that we don't have this custom. It's not our custom. And so the first Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Shneur Zalman of that, he said, how do you know that when the Ramah wrote that halakha, he banged his fist on the table? Maybe he wrote that it's not our custom. We wish it was a custom, but it's not our custom. And so we're good because we adopted the custom. I mean, where did you see in the book that he banged his fist on the table? And it's a very important teaching. I don't know which halakha was in question in that story, but not everything that is a custom was everyone banging their fists about. It wasn't the end of the world if a person were to do this custom. It's just they're explaining why it is our custom not to do something, or why is our custom to do something.
I'll never forget
the bent pipe. Oh Hashem.
You know the story about the bent pipe custom?
No.
Oh yeah.
So it's like the guys leave the shtibel and they move to America or whatever, but they teach their kids, about the beautiful old times of the old, the old neighborhood and the old, and they one day the grandchildren go back to the old country and say, we're going to visit the old shtibel, we're going to see the old place where Grandpa davened and Dad davened, and they go see it. And they had this custom whenever they would get to an aliyah, they would go like this, and
they would duck.
That's it.
They would duck as they walk in front of the ark.
That's why.
And so when they get into the synagogue, they go see why they have to do it like this, because there's a giant steam pipe that goes through the basement synagogue.
Right. I mean, so that was the reason they bet, but it wasn't something you would consider to preserve later on in history when you don't have that pipe.
Right.
It's
I know.
No.
Yeah.
All right, so it says the Sefer Hasidim. Sefer Hasidim, again, is an Ashkenazi rabbi, Rabbi Yehuda HaChasid. You know the famous synagogue they rebuilt in Jerusalem, the big arch that they rebuilt? This is his Bet Knesset. Hevi Maaseh, he brings a story, Be'echad Shechala V'natan Lamut, one who was very sick and he started to die. He was going to die. Sefer Hasidim, by the way, is an extreme Ashkenazi book written by a group of Hasidim, not Hasidim like Baal Shem Tov Hasidim. Many hundreds of years before that, there was a movement in Europe called Hasidei Ashkenaz. The Ashkenazi Hasidim. These were intensely passionate Jews, very Kabbalistic, very strict, and all kinds of halachot. It was a whole movement that I figured that most Jews don't even know about. But they left behind a lot of text. Some would suggest that they wrote the song, for example, Haderet Vehemuna. Some suggest that they were the group of Jews that wrote that song that we sing on Erev Shabbat, or Simchat Torah, the high holidays. So a lot of scary stories, and it's the style. It's the style of the Hasidim Harishonim to have these stories. Someone was about to die. V'ra'a b'chalomo adam she'amar lo, and he saw in his dream a man that told him, שבזכות שהוא בחור ומתעטף בציצית, that in the merit that he's a single man and he wraps himself in a talit and tzitzit, the word mitatef, to wrap, doesn't mean to wear, so it's not the small tzitzit, it's the wrapping of the big talit. ובזכות צדקה שנתן לתלמיד חכם, and in merit of the tzedakah that he once gave to the Torah scholar, hu nitzol min hamavet, he will be saved from death. V'kach hayan, that's what happened. So Sefer Chazim says there are two reasons why this single man was saved. He once gave money to a Torah scholar, and he wrapped himself in a talit despite the fact that he was single. V'adoni avi mori v'ribi maran harishon l'tzion, he says, my father, my master, my teacher, the Rishon l'tzion, Rabbi Yonatan Yosef, alav shalom, b'shut Yichaveh Dat, in his book Yichaveh Dat, Heir od bazeh, he brought an interesting point in his book Yichaveh Dat. Shafilu l'inyan ketanim shelo higiu lemitzvot, even regarding children who didn't reach the age of mitzvot, I mean they're under bar mitzvah. Hine amru bazar hakadosh. It says in the Talmud that someone who reads Shema without tefillin on in the morning is me'id edut sheker ba'atzmo. He is testifying that he's a liar in front of the heavenly court. Because he's saying, I have a commandment to wear tefillin, and I'm not wearing tefillin.